intro and lead in. And then I can take off these classes.
Did we ever work together, Linda?
No, I lived at Paul Lyons for a while.
Ah. I see him once in a while.
He's his roommate, I guess, renter, when he was out on ships. We're live. So Facebook people, hi. Welcome to Comic Spot. Comic Spot was created by this little Meshuggah Jewish, half Jewish lady, so that as an army veteran, gangster, right? I can vet out veterans of comedy. And we've had no better veteran of comedy than the man sitting in the other square over here, Mike Dugan. Yes. Wait until
Thank you, Linda.
You bet, Mike. I'm so happy you're here. I can't wait to have you express your life journey to us and your new book that's out there called Men and Fake Foreplay and Other Lies That Are True, available at Google Books and other fine places, I'm sure.
And Amazon.
And Amazon. Holy Toledo, yes. So let me get to the intro of Mike Dugan here. See if I'm able to actually, this is not my strong suit, you guys. Go on. All righty, I'm ready now. You don't have to look at the top of my head anymore. Mike Dugan has written on television series pilots, specials, and for a long list of comedians. I'm telling you, he's a veteran of comedy. Every part of it. He's written for comedians such as Dennis Miller, Keenen Ivory Wayans, Tom Arnold, holy Toledo, Paul Rodriguez, Stephanie Miller, Rich Hall, and even George Hamilton. Oh my gosh. He received along with 5 other writers and an Emmy Award for writing on the first scene, and I have the picture to prove it. I posted it on Facebook. An Emmy winner is here today. Doesn't get better. The show's writers were also nominated for the Cable Ace and the Writers Guild of America Awards. See, he's a good writer. While in London, Mike also co-created with Rich Hall the BBC TV show, Rich Hall's Badly Funded Think Tank. He's a performer. Mike has performed extensively throughout America, appearing at comedy clubs, colleges, corporate events, and as an opening act for musical artists such as, get a load of this, Roy Orbison. Yeah, I still haven't found my pretty woman. Rick Lee
I
Jones,
had lunch with Roy Orbison.
What?
Yeah, just me and Roy.
Oh, how cool. We have to find out about that. Even Chuck Berry, oh my gosh, Harry Belafonte. Now we're getting into my childhood. Todd Rundgren, John Hyatt, Kenny G. Oh, I'm so jealous. Sean Colvin. Dugan spent 2 years touring his comedy throughout Europe and the UK developing Men Fake Foreplay, and has had the privilege of performing his Men Fake Foreplay in London.
Shut down.
London, Paris, Amsterdam, and at the assembly rooms at the Edinburgh Festival in Scotland. Oh my heckin' gosh, Mike Dugan is here. I have goosebumps all over my body, you guys. His book, Men Fake. I do, Mike. Men Fake Foreplay and Other Lies That Are True, found on Google Play and Amazon, has had rave reviews from around the world. Yes. Even Marianne Williamson said it's hilarious and meaningful. She is a 4 times New York Times best-selling author, so she should know. And it was
an ex-presidential candidate.
Yes, she was. I followed her.
She helped me produce my show when I did it in Los Angeles.
Oh, what a nice lady. The San Francisco Bay Times, the Daytona paper, the Syracuse, Edinburgh, everybody's talking. everybody's talking about Mike Dugan's book, Men Fake Foreplay and Other Lies That Are True, found on Google Play and Amazon. So here we have it, the top shelf of all legends, all comedy veterans. We get to vet out veteran of comedy, Mike Dugan. Welcome, Mike. Woo! Hi, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Oh, heck, are you kidding? Your bio, I could spend an hour just reading it.
It's been an interesting journey.
I guess it started. Did it start at the Holy City Zoo?
I started in New York City for 2 years first at Catch a Rising Star, and I did the comic strip and the improv and the Comedy Cellar. Those were my regular routes on weekends. I'd perform in all of those. And then I guess it was in 1987, Dennis Miller was a good friend back then. And he said he had come back from San Francisco, and he said, Duke, you got to go to San Francisco. It's a great comedy town. So I moved to San Francisco and started performing at the Holy City Zoo and all over the place. And then I guess a year later, I won the San Francisco International Stand-Up Comedy Competition. So that kind of launched a lot of stuff in LA.
Oh my gosh. And I understand through the grapevine that you were actually real friends with Robin, the late great, beyond great, Robin Williams.
Yeah, we're coming up on the anniversary of his death next week on the 11th. Robin, I met Robin in New York with Dennis, and we hung out a couple of times. And then when I moved to San Francisco, I bumped into Robin and Marcia, who was not his wife at the time, but became his wife. And they just kind of took me under their wing. So it was that was really nice. I had been doing stand-up for 2 years at that point, and
that's super. I turned on Facebook in case anybody wants to tell you anything. You know how people come out of the woodwork when you're on Facebook Live.
Yeah, you know what? When I did my first Tonight, speaking out of the woodwork, when I did my first Johnny Carson, it was kind of a tradition where comedians would go down to the improv, and when your set was about to come on, they'd tell everybody to be quiet, turn on the TV. And I did my set, and people were congratulating me. And this woman came up, and she said, she started telling me that she enjoyed the show. And I said, "What's your name?" I said, "I'm Mike. What's your name?" And she said, "I'm Lorraine." And I said, "What's your last name, Lorraine?" And she said her last name. And I said, "Come here for a second." And I pulled her out of the crowd, pulled her aside, and I said, "Lorraine, I lost my virginity to you in 1996 in Cape Cod." She hadn't heard me introduced, and it was 15 years later, but it was hilarious.
Oh my God. And true.
And absolutely true.
So in what year was that you lost your virginity to Lorraine?
4th of July, 1976, the bicentennial with the fireworks.
Oh my gosh, so many tags, so little time. Did you make a lot of jokes about it?
No, nothing. That's ancient history.
Yes. So did she remember it once you?
Oh, yeah. She was like, she said something. Yeah, we went out for like a month during the summer there.
That's hilarious. That's got to go down as one of your favorite things that ever happened when you were on stage.
Yeah, well, I got a lot of favorite things that have happened, so I'm lucky that way.
Can you tell me a few or tell us a few?
I don't know. Let me see. I haven't been in comedy mode for a long time. I've been in pandemic mode.
Totally.
Just a lot of great experiences. Like I said, having dinner with Roy Orbison was great. I had dinner with Harry Belafonte. Actually, I was dating a socialite in New York City, and she was friends with Harry Belafonte. So I had dinner in her apartment with another couple and Harry Belafonte. It was the 5 of us, and Harry and I were talking about politics. And the man from the other couple was a serious Republican, and he was a traitor or something, and yuppie. And I kind of took him down in front of Harry Belafonte, and knowing his political background, it was a pleasure to feel like he was digging it, you know?
So does Harry Belafonte have a good sense of humor?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't, you know, we were having dinner together. Yeah, yeah, he was a sweet man. I mean, he's Harry
Ah,
Belafonte. He was amazing.
so such an amazing legend that is in in the music industry. My goodness, for
Yeah.
decades, and he's still isn't he still out there?
Yeah, I don't know if he's performing or anything. He's got to be upwards of 90 at this point, I think.
Yeah. So
I mean, he was hitting big in the mid 50s, so that's 45, 20, 60. Yeah, so
yes. So talk to me about you as a child growing up in New Jersey, right?
yeah, I grew up in Ramsey, New Jersey, on a nice dead end street, real peaceful life. It was a little like Bedford Falls and It's a Wonderful Life, you know. And that's one of the things that my book is about, and the one man show is about, is how all of a sudden you look around and the world has turned into Pottersville. And so my book is about manning up. It's a hybrid, the show and the book. It's a hybrid between stand up and man up. It's funny, but it's also a look at trying to become a man in a boys will be boys world.
It's pretty prolific for what we're going through even today.
Yeah, you know Frances Fisher, the actor.
Yes.
Yeah, she was Kate Winslet's mom in Titanic, Strawberry Alice, and Unforgiven. Great, great actor. She gave me a great quote. She said, "Mike Dugan was Me Too before Me Too." Because I
Holy.
actually I wrote the book. The book was published in 2004, and I've been doing the one man show since, off and on. Although I took about 6 years off from it because my ex moved my three daughters to New Jersey, so I followed and spent most of my time just focusing on them.
Nice. What ages are your daughters now?
They are 18, 16, and 14. The the
Wow.
two the two younger ones are they do ballet. They've been doing it forever. They're really good at it. They do ballet with the Princeton Ballet. Their mom was prima ballerina for the Princeton Ballet for 9 years, so it runs in the family. And then the older girl, the oldest girl, is she starts Rutgers in the fall, School of Biology and Environmental Sciences.
Good for
She got a
her.
1530 on her SATs, top 13,000 out of 1.7 million kids who took it. She's really smart, and I love all my kids, obviously. She wants to be a
Yes,
veterinarian.
she does. Wow. Sounds like she could come up with cures too with that intellect she has.
Yeah, one would hope, huh?
Yes, absolutely. So you've done the book in play format at venues on the East Coast. I even wanted to come and see it, just couldn't make it. How does the how did the book Men Fake Foreplay and Other Lies That Are True work as a book for you versus as a play in front of people?
Well, the book allows me to elaborate a lot more. You know, the show has more of a storyline, and you know, it's also got the extra added benefit of being a performance, you know. So it's very funny. It's condensed that way. The book gave me the opportunity to elaborate on some of the themes about stepping up, not blaming women for your problems, that kind of thing.
I love it.
Yeah,
So
not a message you hear over burgers at Hooters anymore, is it?
what in your life made you write the book? What like
Well, I
it had
just looked around. You know, my dad. I had a great dad. My dad was a real stand up guy. You know, he was a gentleman. And I got out into the world and I looked around and I realized that not everybody has that, you know, and that I mean, we're in a crisis of leadership for men. So, you know, I looked around. The thing that really started the whole thing off when I decided to do this was, you know, looking around at the porning of America and realizing that, you know, that's not okay. That's not the way we should be conditioned to look at women. And but it's very funny also. I mean, it's not, I'm not lecturing or anything,
yes.
but I make my points, you know.
So can people like me, can anybody go and watch your play and pay, like pay to watch it on a pay to play place on the internet?
No, I haven't done it like that where people can do it online. I did perform it all over the country. I was doing a whole string of subscription performing arts centers where I was doing 1,500 seats, 1,000, 1,500 seat auditoriums all over the country. And I did the Palace in Albany, New York. And it's been pretty amazing. There's nothing like performing for a live audience that size. It's like trampolining off of their energy, It's like, okay, you like that joke? Well, what about this one? And then it comes back. And then, I mean, there's nothing like a performance where you get to time that precision with the audience and just keep hitting it like a metabolic speed bag,
Wow. So then your book, how has your book sales been going, Mike?
Well, I've let it lay fallow for a while. Like I said, I published it in 2004. I got up to number 46 on Amazon, got great reviews. But for the last 10 years, I've kind of been concentrating on just being a dad, being available to my kids.
That's so amazing.
I put up the show here and there, and I did it in Chicago last year for 5 weeks. Wow. And I've done it in Los Angeles a few times last year. Yeah. So I was getting it back up. And then the pandemic hit.
Yes. Well, maybe when the pandemic goes away, you can come out to Vegas and find a place to do it.
Oh, I'd love to.
Wouldn't that be a great spot for that?
Yeah. That's definitely a possibility. I can't wait to get up and perform. I've been writing so much stuff and I got no place to put it.
Oh, man. I know this is crazy. And Zoom, for veterans like yourself, me with my 6 years under my belt, Zoom is like, okay, I'll do that. I'll go anywhere. But for real veterans, you need the live audience, right? The Zoom.
Yeah, that's the raw material that you shape, that you craft. You take the audience's energy and you manipulate it. So it's such an integral part of stand-up. I don't think I'd want to perform, with no audience.
I know. I've tried and I've gotten laughs and stuff and rebookings off of my shtick, but I'm not anywhere near the level and may never achieve your level. There's a good chance of that ever in my life.
There's always promise.
I'll achieve greatness in a whole different way. Like your trajectory is so amazing, and I shoot for the top of what I can do. So being on stage and doing interviews.
I was real fortunate with my trajectory in that I worked in San Francisco. Started out in New York, and then when I went to San Francisco, I just fit right in, and I got a manager there who owned the Holy City Zoo, and it just kind of took off from there.
Wow.
And then I went to Los Angeles, signed with William Morris right away, and I almost had my own sitcom. There's a lot of things going on. It was a lot of fun.
Did you ever do modeling? Because you're not bad looking.
Thanks. I'll take that as a compliment. I have never done modeling.
Because that Morris agency, I think they handle actors, models, comedians, everything. So I just was curious if you ever did modeling.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, you're welcome. So now you're going through the pandemic on the East Coast.
Yeah, we had a big storm yesterday.
Yes. So
trees were coming down.
You've got the pandemic hitting people harder on the East Coast and California. So did that affect your friends and family?
No, fortunately not. It is, I just heard the other day that we're in a hot spot right now. So I'm immunocompromised because I had chemo for 5 months that ended in February. It's all good now, and it worked.
Thank God.
But I'm immunocompromised, so I'm pretty careful. I just stay down, hunker down, and do my writing, and see my kids, and drive them to ballet. They're doing the two younger ones are doing a big summer intensive at the Princeton Ballet right now.
Wonderful.
It's a shame for a lot of the girls who are lined up to do that, because the Princeton Ballet is renowned and their school is renowned, and there were kids who were coming over from Europe to attend this. all over the country and Europe, and they were going to be staying at the dorms in Princeton because nobody's there in the summer, and they couldn't stay at the dorms in Princeton because of the pandemic. So heartbreaking for a teenage girl, because the main thing is they'll come over and go, New York City, we're going to New York City. Everyone from Europe loves to see New York City.
Yes, absolutely. It is heartbreaking,
Yeah.
and I'm so far beyond high school and college graduation and pomp and circumstance that I'm removed from the heartbreak. And it breaks
Yeah,
my heart to be reminded of what a heartbreak it is. So it is a
it
heartbreak.
is. Yeah. Some of the writing I'm doing right now is how we have a tendency to be crippled by our perception of time, distance, and familiarity. I'm writing a lot on that theme right now, that if we could all think the same thing at the same time, you might be able to get some change, but everything's so scattered, especially with all the dissemination of information now. It's not like there were 3 networks when we were
Yes,
growing up. That was your option. And so there's kind of there's no communal hearth, there's no town green. There's a Tom
true.
Green.
Oh my gosh. So you've mentioned people who have helped you along the way, like Robin and his wife, and being in the Morris Agency and other things that I really can't remember, I'll be honest. But I digress.
But Dennis Miller, I met him in New York City when I first started out, and we became friends, and he was very influential. And and Paul Provenza, I don't know if you know who he is, but Paul was very successful when I started out, and he took me under his wing. And once I started writing for television, first Tom Arnold offered me. I was just talking to him on the phone one day, and he said, "You ever write a sitcom?" And I said, "No." He goes, "You want to?" I said, "Yeah, sure." He goes, "Okay, come down to the office on Tuesday, and I'll hook you up with our producer, and I'll give you an episode, because the WGA has a requirement that every season, 2 scripts out of whatever, 16, 14, whatever, have to be given to someone new to keep it from being a pocket of nepotism. So they have to offer opportunities. So he asked me to do that. And it paid $14,500 and got me insurance and got me into the Writers Guild. And that was awesome. And then it never reran. I would have gotten 50% of the first run if it had rerun. And I was like, crap, because they canceled it pretty quickly. It was a Jackie Thomas show. And I went out to my mailbox one day, and there was a check for $3,500 because it aired in Australia. And I'm like, all right, excellent.
Good
But
old
then
Australia.
when Dennis Miller got his HBO show, he called me up. He's like, Dugan, we got a new show. He went, ah. So I said, yeah. And then we just did 6 episodes in the first season, and we won writing Emmys. So that's a pretty strong calling card. And after that, I got offers and took offers, and I didn't do stand-up for about, maybe a little here and there, for about 4.5 years. I was writing for television on Keenen Ivory Wayans, Stephanie Miller Show, late night talk shows, most of which went nowhere. I mean, they aired, for 3 months or for 6 months, but they never got into longevity.
Did anybody invite you to come on and do comedy on late night?
Yeah, well, I did a lot of stand-up on television. I was on Johnny Carson twice. I
That's
did Jay
right.
Leno.
Yeah,
What's
you
that?
did.
Yeah, I did 2 Johnny Carsons. I did Jay Leno, and then every other show. There was that spate of time a long while ago, where all of the new cable stations needed content. So a brick wall, 3 cameras, the comedians perform, they write their own stuff. It was natural. It was a low-cost product. So there was a ton of those things. I was on Evening at the Improv 5 times, Comic Strip Live like 5 or 6 times, Rosie O'Donnell stand-up spotlight twice. I don't know, like 70 television appearances that I did back then.
Oh my gosh. So do you have a favorite? This enters into me being a kind of a comic knowledge nerd. Do you have a favorite joke that usually gets the least amount of laughs that you just basically tell for yourself?
Oh, I don't know.
because I have those, and I refuse to give them up. I know they're going to hit someday.
There's a few. I'm sorry, I can't think of anything right now.
That's okay.
There's a few people's jokes that I like.
Yes.
This one stands out. Of course, I would never do it. I write my own stuff, but I
Yes.
worked with Stephen Wright at Mary Washington University in Washington, D.C. for a couple nights, and he did a line that just cracks me up. He said, a friend of mine just married his trophy wife. Apparently, it wasn't first place. A brilliant line. So I hope that will fulfill my responsibility for providing a joke. No, I got a lot of stuff like that that doesn't come to mind because they're so deep in storage,
Yes.
But
absolutely.
But there are a few like that.
Did you entertain the troops? Because I saw something about Air Force.
No, I did I performed at some Air Force Academy or something like that. Yeah.
Thanks for doing
no,
that.
I never performed for the troops.
Is that something that you're dying to do?
I would love to do that. I just never really had any access. I know a lot of that was being booked out of the East Coast, and I had no presence in New Jersey, in New York for probably 20 years, or over 20 years.
Yes. I can see you easily making those military people laugh. Even the older lifers that are in there would find your style hilarious. And they need good comedy, not just, oh, so you're on a base, like you could really bring a level of comedy that would be
I know what you mean. I know what you mean about good comedy because whenever I have to tell somebody that I'm a comedian, just in civilian life, if it comes up or something, I always say, but I'm a good one. I just feel forced to say that because, somebody can do 3 open mics and they're a comedian, and there are so many of them now. Yes. That, you want to, if they don't know who you are, you want to distinguish it so they don't look at me at 62 and go, oh, great, another comedian,
Yes. So. Yes. That, I think doing these interviews has really humbled me because I would say that I came into doing comedy and thinking, okay, I've learned this and that. Now, when can I be on a show that I deserve to be on? And after interviewing people at your level, I'm like, I think I'll be in the background for a while and just, like cool my jets and learn a lot more.
Yeah, keep building your chops. I mean, I was fortunate that my rise through the ranks coincided with this huge comedy boom in the late 80s and early 90s. So I just rode the crest, and everybody's like, here's a TV show. I'm like, oh, okay. Or, my manager called me one time and he said, I would have to fly into, it's a long story, but I'd have to fly into Boston to do this show, this television show. It was a special. And I said, I don't really feel like doing that. And they were offering like $1,000. I said, ask him for 3,500. And he calls back. He goes, yeah, 3,500's fine. I'm like, okay, listen. But they were throwing stuff at people. They needed content. They needed performers. And there weren't a lot of people. And back then, everybody was really original. When I was at Catch a Rising Star, each of those comedians had their own style. Lately, I've been watching some of these guys like the MMA style clutch in Los Angeles. These guys, and hearing what they're doing and their attitudes towards women, and it's just I don't like that.
I don't either. Yeah, I know what you're saying there. I like.
Yeah, like I had 3 sisters, and a father that told me, you will respect your mother, you'll respect your sisters, you'll respect women. And it makes sense, and it's always worked for me. I've always been kind, even like one night stands and stuff. I was a nice guy. So I just don't get the whole predatory aspect, and it's not doing anybody any justice.
No. I've been introduced on the little shows that I've gotten on as, here comes the lady, she puts out. And I'm like,
oh my God, you heard some guy say that?
Oh, heck yes. And you just have to put up with it, because otherwise you're known as the B, and everything's okay in comedy. And is it,
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool, you know, like,
Well, I'm sad. I'm sorry that that happens. You know, the thing is, I was thinking back when I started hearing this stuff about comedians being rude with women, or here's what you have to do to get booked, or, you know, that kind of stuff. I live for that kind of stuff. I live for telling people what time it is and letting them know it's not okay. I would have slung a few fists here and there if I had seen what was going on, but I didn't.
yes, absolutely. Um, Ryan Patrick is watching and he says hello. I don't know if you know him, but he's on
Hello,
there
Brian.
watching. I went in the military way before the Me Too movement, you know, and I was one woman on the post among 2,000 men. There was no other enlisted woman. And so, you know, it was a lot worse in the military in the 70s than compared to what it is nowadays with little comments. I mean, that's a piece of cake.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, that'll inure you.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't have Gloria Allred, you know. We were all red all the time. Gloria Allred. Have her on speed dial now. It's like, lucky you.
Yeah, but you had Bella Abzug.
Yes, yes.
And her hats.
Well, we've
That'll
kept you.
date us right there.
Yeah. Well, I've kept you a little bit of a while here and a little beyond what you. Thank you. I want you to be able to be free to say and do whatever you want right now, whether it's your outlook on the rest of the pandemic, your legacy you're trying to leave in your life, encouragement for other people to stay sane. Would have 5 minutes to be Mike Duke and tell a joke, or 18. I don't care, whatever you want.
Oh man, I would have prepared something, but I'm mostly not capable of doing that right now, I don't think. But if you ask me more questions, I'll answer them.
What's the craziest thing you've seen people do during the pandemic on TV or in person or at your door? What's ridiculous?
Oh my God, there's so much to choose from.
Totally.
Oh, I know the craziest thing I've ever seen during the pandemic is that president guy.
Oh my God, that guy.
Oh, you know what? I'm friends with Marla Maples, his second wife.
Oh, cool.
That's something I can talk about.
Let's talk about it. What did you get to hear?
She's a nothing, you know. She doesn't tell anybody anything, and that's because she's wise. You know, she's a sweetheart. She's very cool. I met her when she came to that show. I said that Marianne Williamson helped me produce in Los Angeles. She helped promote it, so it was great. There were a lot of people there. There was like Cheryl Teagues was there, Ben Vereen was there, Marla Maples, you know, a ton of Shadow Stevens, a ton of people came to see it. And Marla came. My friend Jimmy brought Marla, and then we went out to dinner afterwards. So we hung out for a while, and then I hung out with her for a while in New York. I went to see her play with my friend Jimmy, and then we went out and ate afterwards. And she's a sweetheart, you know, and she, you know, as soon as she split up with Trump, she moved as far away as she could get.
Good.
You know, without getting into the Pacific Ocean. I mean, she just didn't want, you know, this is common knowledge. I wouldn't speak out of turn, but she just didn't want to bother deal with the, you know, with the Trump brand being around all the time, like in New York City. So she moved to California, but she's a doll. She's amazing.
Well, that's great that you got to know her. And you've had so many huge people come alongside and support your life. What a great life you've had.
I've been really lucky in that regard. You know, it's like people get put in my path when they need to be there. It's been that way my whole life, from when I decided to play pool and get good at pool. You know, I had this amazing mentor who was probably 70 years old at the time. He wore spats. He had an ebony and ash cue stick that he won in a tournament in 1928. He used to play with Frank Sinatra in New Jersey. He played pool, so that kind of thing. Then when I moved up to Killington, Vermont to ski, I got a mentor there who was amazing. It's just people get put in my life, like Robin was put in my life. As soon as I moved to San Francisco, the first time we hung out, Marcia said, "We're going back to watch Lady and the Tramp on video and eat some popcorn. Why don't you come with us?" So I've been doing stand-up for 2 years, and I'm sitting in his living room, and And I'm going, well, I'm in Robin Williams' living room eating popcorn and watching Lady and the Tramp. And it was just like, this is just too weird, you know?
And this
So,
was sort of around the time of Mork and Mindy.
no, Mork and Mindy was done by then. I got out there in January of '87. So
Okay.
this was more like the time of Good Morning Vietnam and Dead Poets Society. And then after that, you know, a few years later, it was Mrs. Doubtfire.
I love
My,
all his stuff. Love it all.
what's that?
I love everything he ever did.
Oh, he was amazing. My kids thought Mrs. Doubtfire was about me, you know, when they were little, because I had separated from their mom and I was the artist, you know, and I didn't even realize that. One of them mentioned it years later, and I said, and then I asked my other youngest and said, "Did you think so?" Oh yeah, because you know it was the businesswoman who was like, you know, he's living in a dream world kind of thing, and they thought that Robin had written it about me, not that Robin had written it, but I didn't know that for years. It's pretty funny,
How
very
cool.
similar.
When you were around, this isn't about Robin Williams, but it's a little bit about Robin. When you were around him, could you tell that his mind just thinks fast? That's just the way he is. Was
Yeah,
that
well, that was one of
everybody?
the greatest things was playing with him, having somebody smart to play with ups your game. It's on a cellular level. It's not even, you know, the challenge, but that's one of the things I miss about being around all my comedian friends is our skill is our ability to play and engage and, you know, play with people and play with ideas and create together. And I've been fortunate to be around some of the best and smartest comedians in the world, and there's nothing like it. I mean, you get like Rick Overton, who's just a genius. You know, I used to watch him do improv with Robin. The only times I've done improv was with Rick Overton, and Robin was twice. Robin would come into Cobb's Cafe in San Francisco. You could always tell when he was in the back of the room because he'd wait in like an aisle in the back, like the pathway to where the waitresses go. And I always knew if he was like be on stage, and I always knew if he was there because I just hear "ha." That's the way he laughed. A lot of comedians just laugh that way because it's just a burst like that. But Rick was as fast. Rick Overton was as fast as Robin, in my opinion.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would love.
Rick would get a spark, and Robin would run with it. You know, um,
How did Robin run with everything like he did?
I don't know. I don't know.
I watch him just for
But he,
inspiration.
yeah, I mean, he was a great comic, but he was also an incredibly dear man. You know, he was a sweet man. He was kind. He helped a lot of people. I mean, everybody in the San Francisco comedy scene back then, um, they were friends. You know, Robin. I always got the feeling that Robin treated me like I was a success and just at a different level of my success than he was. You know, he was very open, very kind to people. It was a tough loss.
Yes, it was, and it still continues to be. So, I found out I lived in San Francisco for a while, and I found out from somebody at the San Francisco Hospital, the University Hospital, USF Hospital, that after Patch Adams played, Robin would go around to all the children at Christmas time, ask what they wanted for Christmas, and then he would go shop and he would wrap and he would bring the presents to all the children himself.
Yeah, he would do that quietly. He may have. I think he was probably doing that even before Patch Adams. He and a guy named Michael Pritchard, who was pretty renowned out there, a remarkable guy. He's a humanitarian. He's had specials he had a series on PBS called The Power of Choice, where he goes into schools and talks to the kids. And he's an amazing guy, another mentor of mine. So,
Wow. You've had some great
but
mentors.
they would go together, is my point. Robin and Michael would go together to cancer wards and all unhailed, all unannounced, all privately, never for attention, but because it was the right thing to do.
Makes me tear up every time.
Yeah.
Back to you. So the last thing I want to ask you before we transition out onto our day is this. You've lived a long, great, amazing life. A lot of us will never achieve your level of success. So, A, do you feel you've achieved everything that you can? Or B, is there a legacy you have not tapped into that you want to leave?
I have not achieved everything that I would like to achieve. I have, through the years, I have like 70 journals, 80 or 90 spiral notebooks, thousands of index cards, and about 3,000 pages of writing that I need to go through and get all of my ideas and put them together. So that's what I'm doing right now to see what kind of product I can put through. I just write things and put them down and I won't finish them. I'm like, oh, there's a premise, and then play with the premise. So I'm really enjoying my writing, and the legacy I would like to leave, well, besides my children being such great kids, is hopefully just a level of kindness that I carried through my life.
Yes. Everybody I've talked to that knows you has said that you're a great person. So that's being handled as we speak. Let me see if anybody. Bob Brewer says, hello, Mike.
Hi, Bob Brewer. Bob Brewer gave me the hookup when I was sick with me, so that was cool. He told me to watch a certain video, and I did.
Oh, that's so great. Teresa Canastracey Farrell out in Long Island is watching. She probably will hit you up to interview. She does an interview show that's amazing too.
All right.
Yeah, there you go, Teresa. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much for this amazing interview. Anything else you want to say? Anything else?
No, I'm good. I had a good time. It was a pleasure to spend some time with you.
Thank you. Send all your friends to me.
I will. All right.
I'll take them on one by one. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you again.
Oh, where do you want people to follow? They have to get your book. Let me remind them of the name. It's called Men Fake Foreplay and Other Lies That Are True, available on Google Books and Amazon. And they can see the play when that comes back out, where you perform. And where else do you want traction on the internet?
No, I think that's about it. Since I haven't done the show in a while, I haven't been paying much attention to my social media. I don't have a Twitter presence. My Facebooking is limited to something will pop into my head. I'll write it down and then I'll go back and hit likes for the people's comments, read people's comments. But I actually feel kind of bad about it because I don't go to a lot of other people's pages unless something shows up on mine. But I'm trying to keep my writing focused on progress.
I love that.
Instead of whining.
I believe in you as a human, and I believe in you as a superstar. And I look forward to coming and watching your play, Men Fake Foreplay and Other Lies That Are True, when it comes out. And I'm going to go look at the ability I have to buy your book. So I hate to read, but now that I've met you and you're so great, I'm motivated to go look at where the book is and what the book costs and maybe buy the book. I can't promise it. I work on a budget. I use most of my money to do this, is what I'm saying.
All right. Thank you very much. You know what? I ran out. They printed 20,000 of them and I've got 3 left, or I would just send it to you. I don't even know if Amazon has more.
I'll go look. It's just
but
that I
it's
might
also,
have to...
do you have Kindle?
I don't have Kindle. I need to look into that.
But you know what? You can get it on Kindle. I think it's $2.99 or $3.99. This is for the other people also. And you don't need a Kindle because there's a Kindle app you can put on your PC or on your Apple computer. So you can read it on your computer.
Oh, I'm doing that.
And I've tried to send a couple of those Kindle files to people, and I don't know, for some reason it's not working, or else I'd just say, hey, I'll send you one. But I'll look into that in a few minutes.
Thank you so much for the amazing time to get to know you, Mike Dugan. You're so fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you.
So anyway, I'll let you go and stay safe and mostly stay sane.
Yeah.
Long time.
Thank you.
Bye,
so
everybody.
Much.
Bye, Mike Dugan.